Wow. That's all I got to say right now. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just My Opinion for my Transformers 1 movie review. And this is your first time finding me, and you happen to like this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Transformers 1, I really did enjoy the first film that came out in 1986, the animated movie. Thought it was great. I didn't see it until after I saw the 2007 Michael Bay movie, but I loved it when I first saw it and thought that it was as great as I heard all my life up until that time. I also did really like the Transformers movie, the first one that was directed by Michael Bay in 2007. I thought that was great. I thought that was fantastic. And Michael Bay was my favorite director of all time up until Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen. So that's just kind of how I felt about Transformers, or how I feel about it before I saw this movie. Now, this one, Transformers 1, is being directed by Josh Cooley. And it doesn't just, jump off the page to me initially, but if we scroll down, I'm like, oh, okay, I've seen Toy Story 4, and that was great. I don't think it was as good as the first three, but it was still a damn good movie. So he has a few directing credits under his belt and also a number of acting credits. If you are more familiar with this gentleman and his filmography, please let me know down in the comments section below. But when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was not interested at all. It seemed like it just was not for me. It seemed like it was more geared towards children, and I was just really over the Transformers franchise. I did not like Revenge of the Fallen, like I said. Dark of the Moon was okay. Age of Extinction, I didn't really care for that one, and I forgot the last one. I think it was The Last Night. I mean, it had a couple of decent scenes, but overall, it wasn't a great movie. But I did like Bumblebee. I thought that was great, and if there's any more Transformers movies, I can't remember them right now. But I did not want to see this movie. I like Chris Hemsworth, I like him. Brian Tyree Henry, I like him. Keegan Michael Key, if that's the gentleman's name. Yeah, I was like, he's cool too. Scarlett Johansson, I'm a fan of all of these actors, actresses. I like Transformers, the concept at the very least, but I'm just not into this. But I said, hey, I'm gonna go in with an open mind because so many people that saw it before I did said it was great. And here we are. So before I get into all the nitty gritty, before I talk about all my likes and dislikes, let me tell you exactly what this Transformers 1 movie is all about. The untold origin story of Optimus Prime and Megatron, better known as sworn enemies, but once were friends bonded like brothers who changed the fate of Cybertron forever. Now, that plot synopsis does get me interested. It does seem compelling, because ever since I've heard of Transformers, it's the Autobots versus the Decepticons versus the Autobots. But I heard that they was friends way back in the past, but never knew that origin story. This is that origin story. Guys, there's really not much to say about this movie other than you need to go see it. It is perfect. I loved it from beginning to end. And when I say the end, all the way to the very, very end, because there is a post-credit scene and it's dope as hell. I didn't even take notes for this movie. This pad here is only here because of the film I just reviewed, Never Let Go with Halle Berry. But back to this, I didn't even take notes for this. Guys, I'm not exaggerating. This movie is perfect. This is one of the best movies that I've seen in 2024. This is the best Transformers movie of all time. Better than all of the Michael Bay Transformers movies. Better than the Bumblebee movie. And also, I think it's better than the original 1986 original movie. One of the reasons is, I think, because there was no humans in this film. It just focused on the Transformers, whether they were Autobots, whether they were Decepticons, whether they was part of the High Guard, whatever. It just focused on the Transformers, and the whole movie took place on Cybertron, or whatever place they wanted to call their planet. That way, you really got to see what makes all of these Transformers tick and talk. And as far as the way that they looked, I like that they scaled in different size. It wasn't just one fits all. You had some small ones, mediums, large, extra large, and beyond that. And there was a hierarchy of power as far as how big or small they were too. Not to say that if you were small, you were automatically just weak or put in the lower class, but you did have more clout the bigger you were. The only other time that we got to see Cybertron was in Bumblebee, but that was at the very beginning of the film, and it was at nighttime. This film, you get all times of the day, morning, afternoon, evening, and night, inside the core of Cybertron and also on the surface. And there's just so much lore and mythos to get to know and learn as you're on this journey, getting to know these Transformers and what makes them transform. Pun intended. I also like the way they spoon-fed us the story, back in the day as well. Once upon a time, there was Transformers and this happened. Some may feel that that was a little forced, and it did seem that way initially, but when you start to peel back some of the layers, it's like, okay, I kind of see why they took that approach to let us know the backstory, and it did work quite well with the actual mission that one of the Transformers was trying to pull off throughout this movie. Now, as far as the characters are concerned, I love them all. We have Chris Hemsworth as Orion Pax, aka Optimus Prime, Brian Tyree Henry as D16, Megatron, and Keegan-Michael Key as B-127 as Bumblebee. There's other familiar characters, if you know Transformers, that you can recognize the voices and you'll be able to recognize the Transformers too. I thought everybody was perfect and placed with the character that best fit their personality from what I know about them from past credits or them in their personal life. Something else that I liked about this film is the way the characters grew, they matured, they evolved, they transformed. We got to see them at bare bones where they don't have any powers or abilities, but as the film progresses on, how they learn more about themselves and their mechanics, their biology, etc., and what they can and cannot do. That was very fun to explore, not only just from an audience member to see them grow, but how the characters feel about their own evolution as well. They just feel more powerful and more confident if they're able to learn a new ability. And I think we all feel that way when we learn something new, when we are able to complete a new task that we weren't able to do before. And we always achieved it. I mean, we're gonna walk around with our shoulders back and our chest up, you know what I'm saying? And that's what the characters was doing in this film. The movie is also very funny. I was laughing throughout this whole film. There was only one joke that did not land from Keegan-Michael Key, and it wasn't just like corny or anything. I can just tell it was a joke attempt, but I just didn't laugh at it. But everything else that came from his character, I was laughing my ass off. I also like the contrast of colors and the visuals. All of the Transformers are different colors, different shades, and things of that nature. And the way that it bounces off the backdrop, the background, the foreground, you can really get a good sense of depth and how big and small the whole surrounding environment is on Cybertron 2. The action is also super dope as well. There's hand-to-hand fighting scenes, weapons in the air, on the ground, in caverns, in open space, all of that. And it's just not action as far as fighting is concerned. There is also action as far as just racing and having a Grand Prix and just seeing how all of the different Transformers maneuver and get around the landscape. That was cool too. And they're just, like I said, they're not all the same. They come in all different shapes and sizes, so nothing gets bored or repetitive or anything like that. If there was a list of each character's individual powers and abilities and what their special moves are, especially towards the very end of this film, you get to see all of their powers and abilities. Like, okay, I like Optimus because he has this certain axe, or this character has a certain sword, or this character here has a certain gun. You're going to see all of that across the board, and so you'll be really fulfilled there too. And I did say that the action is great and the comedy, and a lot of times they combine those two elements and it works as well. I was laughing while scenes were supposed to be serious, and I can't be a stickler when it comes to that type of thing, especially with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And also, I was attached to these characters. We see Optimus Prime and Megatron at the very beginning of this movie, and they are friends, they are tight, they are brothers. But you see what happens when they have a different philosophy on life and start to part ways. And what makes this story great in their relationship and their dynamic is I understand both sides 100%. Some days I may wake up feeling like Optimus Prime. Some days I may wake up and feel like Megatron. And also, I like the way that they got their names, Optimus Prime and Megatron. That was dope too. And like I said, I feel for both characters, and I'm flipping back and forth on which one was my favorite. The only thing that I disagree with is how they would handle their disagreements. I'm not going to go and just murder innocent people, and whether that did happen or not, you just have to go watch the movie and find out for yourself. But the split, the fallout between them was real and also tragic and heartbreaking, but it was authentic too. Nothing was forced or anything like that. I felt for both sides, like I said, equally. And it hurt too to see them part ways because you love them both and they wanted the same thing. But this movie just also goes to show what it can do to your mind, what it can do to someone's psyche if they just have blind faith in a person, in an entity, and or a God, and they find out that what they believed for so long is not true. It was a farce. It was a lie. What that can do to a person. And that was all over this movie too. And a lot of people go through that in real life. So that was a very mature thing they included in this movie as well. The soundtrack, the composition, the score is dope as well. You're going to be bobbing your head and just having an all around great time. And even when I was satisfied with this movie, like I'm entertained. I came and got everything that I wanted to see out of this movie and more. It still gives you more and more without you feeling like you're being beat over the head with it. I mean, they knew what to give you for a conclusion, for some action, and it was lovely. I love the lore of this whole Transformers world. I love the mythos. I loved everything about this movie. It is perfect, perfect, perfect. 10 out of 10. I cannot recommend this movie anymore. I'm just trying to see, is there anything else that, I mean, the animation is great. The action is great. It's a great adventure. It's great animation. It's a great fantasy, great story. It is just great everything. I loved it. I don't, there's nothing else to say about this movie other than you need to go see it. There's nothing that I didn't like about it other than that one joke that didn't land. But other than that, guys, this was a cinematic masterpiece. This is up there with Dune 2. This is up there with The Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This is up there, best of 2024. I will go ahead and give my rating at the very end of this, guys, but that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did like this video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, helping me reach my next milestone of 75,000 subscribers. And if I had to give Transformers 1 a rating out of a 1 out of 10, I would easily give this a perfect 10 out of 10. Yes, a perfect 10 out of 10. Yeah, there you go right there. There you go. But guys, again, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.